The idea of a barefoot church became real for me when I spent some time through Scripture just really asking the question, God, what do you really want us to do with the least? How do we really engage poverty? Or what do you want us to do with the poor? Jesus said that He came to preach the gospel of the poor. What does that mean? Is that just a spiritual poverty? Is that a physical poverty? What is that? And I began to read through Scripture and made this commitment, just said, God, I'm going to read this, and I want the Bible to define my faith. I don't want to just use the Bible to defend my faith. And that's when scriptures like Isaiah 1 and Isaiah 58 and Matthew 25 became really life-giving to me. It's like, what if we did this? What if we became a church that really learned to do what was right? What if we really sought what it meant to engage justice and be an advocate for those needing an advocate? What if we fought for the widow and for the orphan? What if we did that? What would that look like? When we first began to try and figure out what this might look like, one of the things we did was we just went down and served the homeless in downtown Austin. And as we invited people and invited our people to invite people, the thing that amazed me was who people intuitively invited. It wasn't just their Christian friends or people that went to another church. It was their skeptic friends. It was their atheist friends and their agnostic friends who would come and serve and be a part of doing something good. And so we just began to ask the question, hey, what if church looked like this? It was amazing how many of them said, I'd be a part of a church that looked like that. So we began to start thinking, if the church would look like that, what would the structure be? What would our small groups look like? What would our worship gathering need to look like? How would that impact each other? How do we make sure that it's connected to the gospel and a theologically sound and driven mission? What do we need to do? Who do we need to invite? And so we just began to think about how do we ensure that vision? And for us, that's when the dots started to connect. That's when we began to see this holistic gospel that was good news. That's when we began to see people literally being changed right before our eyes. That's where we began to see those who said, I'll never go to church, actually begin to want to be a part of faith community. And what we found out was it wasn't easy. We found out you can't just hang out at the local coffee shop all day long and expect to be good news. You can't just tell people to go serve and they know how to do it. It was a lot of work. We truly became learners again. We found that we had to be intentional. We found that we had to create structure to ensure the vision. We found that everything we did had to be intentional and purposeful. And what we found is creating a structure where we were not only learners, but we were doers, required us taking the idea of need and saying, how do we expose and identify what those things are? And so we began to just see what the needs are in our community. We began to look at needs globally and saying, hey, we can't just move from ignorance to paralysis, but let's do something about it. So we focus hard on exposing need, on helping people encounter need, and then helping them engage them through missional communities. And what we found is that through exposing and experiencing and engaging need through community, is that the dots were getting connected for everyone involved. My hope is that through Barefoot Church, what happens is we can put words to some of the things that many of you are already thinking, already struggling with, and already experience this tension with. And we're able to help give you a framework for finding some solutions in your context and in your church and in your community.